Welcome to our corner where we talk about the Streets of Avalon RPG. I'm Chris.
And I'm Brett.
And today we're talking about the Lamplighter System, the actual game system, and how it works to make adventuring in a city work. All right, Brett. Last time we were talking about an overview, which was basically your area because you're the lore guy, and I'm mostly the design guy. So feel free to ask me stuff about how this Lamplighter game works, the Lamplighter System game works in the Streets of Avalon.
Yeah. So what do you make? No, I'm kidding.
What I make?
What's it?
Well,
so I know what we started with, right? So we did our teaser, like, hey, this is what we're talking about, setting and whatnot. And I just want to start off with when we first made, in case somebody comes in here, is when we first came out with our book ages back. God, it was like 17 or something before pre-COVID.
It was a while
back, and we hooked it into the D20, right? The old D20 system, using 5e as kind of a base to start and work with things. There was a setting book more than anything else. One of the things that we both realized was that to capture the lightning in the bottle, right? To make it so that I could give this to anybody who isn't me or you or anybody else who's played with us, to say, hey, this is what Avalon is, and here's how you can do the same type of thing we did. We're probably going to need to make our own damn thing. We've got to pull some sort of a curated version where it makes sense. It's got all the right tools, because not everybody has the time, energy, or desire to do stuff like you and I do, where we're like, oh, I'll hack this game. Oh, I'll modify this or whatever. And I think pulling all that together into a codified system that does all the stuff we've talked about was critical, because otherwise it's a great, you're like, oh, that's a cool setting, but what do I do with it? How do I invoke all this cool shit you guys just talked about? So when we talk about the Lamplighter system here, I think, how do you describe it? Is there something that from your side you're like, oh, this game, are we talking, is it D20? Are we using percentiles? What's your...
Sure. So look, there's going to be some stuff that people will recognize, like the action economy of the game is kind of similar to what you're comfortable with from a D20 game. That is, but that's where that ends. So when you're doing stuff in the game, when you take action, there are really two types of rolls. There's an action roll and there's a resistance roll. Whenever you do that, you're basically rolling 2d6 or more, and then adding a modifier to it, and maybe training if you have it that applies and that's your training bonus. So it is 2d6 plus a stat, one of your stats, which goes from 0 to 5, and then plus a training bonus that goes up as you level up, assuming you're trained in that thing. Now,
so it's not a dice pool per se.
Well, we'll get there. Now let's talk about it.
Yeah.
There are a couple of things to add to that. Everyone has an occupation. So your occupation is the thing that you were doing before you decided to stop doing that, or maybe you still do it and became some sort of investigator or delver or whatever, you're a thief, whatever you're doing now in your neighborhood, or just because, everybody's got a class, or you're like a fighter or a magic user or a rogue, or a fighter, a magic user, a thief, or an expert. We'll talk about the expert later. It's kind of a unique-ish one. But your occupation is like a thing that you've been doing, like you were a dock worker, or you were a chef, or you were maybe you're a Lachey priest, right? Like you do the Lachey job, right? Like you go around, you collect bodies, you tend to the neighborhood, things like that, whatever it was. And there's like a whole list of them that you can pick from, and you can also make up your own. But if your occupation applies to a thing that you're doing, you get to just add a d6 to your dice pool.
Nice. Okay. And
then when you roll, there's some other ways to get dice, and we'll talk about that. When you roll, you just keep the best 2 d6 that you rolled to add. What that mathematically, what that kind of equates to is like an extra +2 to a roll, but it's bounded. Like you can't get ridiculously high numbers, but it's essentially a plus about 2 to your roll.
Well, the cool things I think about having the occupations the way you're describing it, it's because it's about the neighborhood.
Yes.
And where you're at. When you have that occupation, it is something that is tying you to that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do here? What are you known for? If your occupation is street kid, good for you, but that's what you're known as. You're that person, type of thing. And I think that the cool piece about having those occupations is that it's more directly tied to that piece of the setting, right? That neighborhood. You're tied right to it with that.
Yeah.
As opposed to some of the larger, I used to be an X. It's so big. This is like, I'm right here. I'm from
So it's weird too, because it's like a huge part of your character. It's like one line on your character sheet essentially, but it's like a huge part of your character because you can use it for so many things. Because this game isn't I mean, there is fighting in this game. Don't get me wrong. Like this is like a pull off in the Gray Mousery type game, which means you're gonna throw down sometimes. But a lot of it is like going around and talking to people, finding out information, learning things, trying to get to a place before the next bad thing happens, and that means you need information. So like say you're a dock worker and you're like looking for a lead, you can be like, I'm a dock worker, I'll go down to the docks and talk to some of my old friends down there or the people that I work with, see if they know anything about this shipping thing that's been going on that we're looking into. And that gives you what I call, and what a lot of other people call, like narrative positioning to go do the thing. Like, I'm a dock worker, it makes sense that I can go down and talk to people at the docks. And look, man, that's a bit of a load on the game master, because you have to invent some stuff sometimes when that happens. But
the cool thing is there's an extra die. Mechanically speaking, I'm using a thing, I get a die.
Yeah.
And that's and when you're talking 2d6, well, I'll take 3d6 and take the best two.
Yep.
I had a one of my favorite characters that one of my friends was playing. He was a mason of all weird. Everyone was like mason. I'm like, oh, interesting. I wonder what he's going to do with that. He was a brick guy. And
you could do all sorts of stuff with that.
Yeah, and I didn't think about it at the time because everyone else was doing all this other kind of rather traditional stuff, like, oh, I was a pit fighter or I was a guard or whatever. And he was the guy who's like, well, so, what's the quality of the stone in this building? Do I know the guys? You know what? I'm gonna go talk down to the guild because I think I know Hank was the one who put this one up. He knows where the doors are.
Yep.
Or, you know, then people were like, I'm gonna be a carpenter. I'm gonna be a rope maker. I'm gonna be, because I want to be a map maker. Is there a map makers guild? Yeah, good. I want access to all of the the blueprints, so to speak. So I'm like, oh my god, you guys, you know. So I think that is
a thing, right? Like now we're playing in the city. Like you have a place in the city. You know people in the city. We have put ourselves in the setting.
Yeah, I like the narrative positioning of the occupations is great because, mechanically speaking, for those who like some of my buddies are like, hey, how do I min max? I'll just pick on them. They're not here. I won't name them. How do I max out my ability to get some cool dice, right? Because I want my best odds. And if you pick a good occupation that's in the neighborhood and you figure out how to use it, it's a great way to use the system correctly to your advantage, and it plays into it. You know, it's not you're not just rolling a search. You're saying, hey, I'm going to do this. And I also happen to be, I was a cabin boy. I know where people hide stuff on boats because I've been the guy hiding stuff on boats.
Or at least you can get an extra die to roll to see if you can find the thing that was being hidden on the boat, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't it doesn't always guarantee it, but it can at least, sometimes it does. Sometimes it's just that simple, right? But sometimes it gives you just the extra die to do the thing.
So let's talk about dice for a bit more. So one of the things that I've dabbled with over the years was player facing stuff, or DM rolls this, GM rolls that, players roll this, and so on and so forth. How are we doing dice on this one?
Man, this game is straight up player. Yeah, I know. Anyway. This game is straight up player facing. Like the players are rolling the dice 90% of the time. The adversary stat blocks and the target numbers, they're just there. And one of the things about the game is this 2d6 bounded accuracy thing means it's actually bounded accuracy. Like you can only go so high, and I mathed out from levels 1 to 10, because it's a 10 level game for all the adversaries too. So like you can see and then build these things on the fly if you need to, or the tons of stat blocks that'll be in this, even in the playtest version of the game. So say like you roll up on a door that's locked, and you need to pick the lock, and you got to get in there quick, right? Like you only got like 15 seconds to do this, and you're the thief. I'm like, all right, well, the target number for this is 13, because that's a good target number for a lock. Like the difficulty of good, like it's hard, it's good. That's how I rate them, like poor, average, good, hard, right? And they all have numbers. So like you then, sit down and roll the dice, but that number will never change. So the better that you get at the thing, like all good locks are always going to be at that number. I mean, you could change them, shift them around a little bit, but like the game shouldn't scale necessarily with, like, the things in the world shouldn't scale with the players. They should stay the same, because I wanted that. I thought that would make you feel like you're actually getting better as you go along.
Because if you get really good at picking locks and you're like, oh, this is a poor lock, I can do this in my sleep, man. I've been doing this forever. This is easy. Where when you first started, may have been a little tough on you.
Correct.
Okay. So what's the difficulty die? What's that about?
So the difficulty die is when you're in a situation that has either an action sequence for the most part. So
Okay.
there are two types of action sequences. There is when you're in a fight and when you're in a chase. Those are the two primary action sequences. This game doesn't have like that circular initiative where like everybody does roll initiative and you have an initiative order, but it goes by rounds. When a round ends and at the beginning of a fight, the game master will roll a d6 as a difficulty die. That adjusts the numbers of the adversaries that you're rolling against. So like every adversary has 4 stats, dodge, attack, mental, and physical.
Mm-hmm.
So like dodge is generally for speed and mostly for fighting. You can use physical if you want to for like running around and whatnot if you want, if you prefer. But I will roll that d6. If it's a 5, every stat on the bad guys and any target numbers that are like fluid in the scene are adjusted by that difficulty die until the next round, and then I will roll it again. And the players can all see it, so they can start planning around it, right? So like if I roll a 6 one round, maybe everybody doesn't want to try to beat the ever-living love out of the bad guy or do the thing that is like going to be really hard. They want to just prepare and do other things to set up for the following round.
Because it's so player-facing, when you were first telling me about the difficulty die, my head went to, this is a die I'm always going to roll in front of the players. This will never be rolled behind the screen.
That is the intent.
Never be rolled privately because it's all the 90% player facing. You need to know what you're up against. So I'm just going to toss it out there. Right. Mm-hmm. And when the 1 shows up and they cheer and the 6 shows up and they groan, that's awesome. You know?
Yeah. To go with, we're talking about action sequences at the moment. So chases, there's no move action chases because everybody's always assumed to be running. Just took it right out. You'll see how that works if you check out the game, but it really works well because you have these chases set up and they're either 3 rounds or 5 rounds, and you set some stakes for when the chase ends, and then there's a couple of tags. We'll get into tags in a second for how close or far away you are from the person that's chasing or the person that is the chaser, and then you could take actions based on that, and then you deal with obstacles like you would in a chase. It feels very cinematic. To go along with that, when it comes to like throwing down combat, get into a fight. This game doesn't use a grid. Like it wants you to use relative positioning. So like you should have some sort of map with people on it just so you can see where people are. But there is no grid. Like there's like 3 range bands. It is 4 range bands. It is like you are in melee combat. You are in a short distance. It's like, between 5 and 10 feet.
Yeah.
You are in medium, which is 10 to 60. And then you are far, which is beyond that because it's a city. And most of the time, if you are far, you probably can't see the person because 60 feet, there's something in the way.
Yeah.
Because that's the city of Avalon, right? Like,
I remember us talking about that. And we're like, do we grid it? How technical, and so forth. We're like, well, it's cinematic noir, right? So it's gritty and so on. We've got pieces of that in there. That's great. But there's so much stuff to take into account. And the other, the other cool thing when we're talking about distance and stuff is you've got the ability from a narrative positioning thing. Again, if you're utilizing your occupations properly, I think we could come up with some pretty decent ways that occupation can help you out in that fight.
Have come up with some pretty decent ways. For instance, somebody was a dock worker. A friend of ours, Bob Everson, was playing a dock worker. He's like, I'm gonna pick up this crate and throw it at these guys. I'm like, yeah, you can add your dock worker die because you throw crates around all the time.
Exactly.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
So that is the player facing stuff. There are some exceptional spaces where maybe you have to roll for an NPC, and simple enough, you pick up another D6 for those particular moments where you're like, well, this is like an NPC trying to overcome an obstacle, like in a chase or whatever, or this is like an NPC on NPC situation, and you need to have a die roll. Like you just pick up a D6 and just roll and add it to the whatever stat is relevant. That's all. Simple enough.
What about, so I want to ask about the player facing piece. So for me, I believe that one of the reasons I like it is because the way Avalon is set up and the way it's so much, it's you against, right? It's your crew working hard, doing all the right stuff and so forth. And it's in your hands. How well do you do? How well do you do? And I think there's something to me cool about it thematically when it ties to Avalon as opposed to, oh, the DM's dice were hot tonight type of thing. There's none of that. It's on you. It's on you and the other folks in your crew.
To me, it also is a camera thing because I always think visually, like how is the camera looking at the scene and whatnot. And when the players are rolling the dice, that means the camera's always on them doing a thing because they're the ones that are taking action.
The other thing I like about that, and I'm going to move on to another piece here, but I love the fact that from an attention perspective, when the players are rolling dice, especially when it's fast like this. It's 2d6. It's not like figure it out, add big pools and whatnot. People pay more attention, especially when because it's not like the DM's rolling. He'll tell me if I get hit or whatever's going on. It's I don't know. I have found whenever I've had a player facing environment, everybody from the player side seems much more engaged in everything that's going on. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. And maybe other people have seen that or it's just a me thing, but I've noticed that when they're rolling, everybody seems to pay a lot more attention. At least that's a thing I've noticed. So,
man, if you're listening or watching to this, get in the comments and let us know how your experience with player facing has been. Does everybody more engaged with what's going on? I'm curious now.
Yeah. So you mentioned tags. So let's talk about tags. There's a number of games that use tags or other pieces, parts that add something onto it narratively or whatever. How are we doing that?
So this is the cheat code for the game in a lot of ways. Tags are the basis idea for this, which is a thing in the game has mechanical weight. You give it a tag. That at its most core level, if something has a tag, that means you either get advantage or disadvantage on a check, on a roll. I call them rolls. Advantage is you get to add another d6 to your dice pool. Disadvantage is the game master bumps the target number up by 1. So you don't ever have to worry about it. It's just the game master bumping a target number up by 1 because you have disadvantage. Game master can also bump it up by 2 if it's really bad disadvantage if they want to. That's their choice though. That's the base version of tag, what a tag does. You can just add a mechanic to a tag. This lets you create things that are temporary or basically put house rules out there that have mechanical weight for a short period of time that you can put in a scene and then let it go eventually. Like if this place is on fire, you can be like, man, this place is on fire, which means as long as you were in this space at the beginning of your turn, you take 1d4 damage from smoke inhalation, or 1d4 harm, because it's not damage in this game. 1d4 harm from smoke inhalation and the fire being around. Also, you have disadvantage on any actions because the place is on fire and it's very distracting, right? Like I just added a rule to that, but when that goes out, or if somebody puts water on or uses some amount of magic that they might have at their disposal to get rid of that fire, then the tag goes away. Now, there are more permanent tags. For instance, say you're carrying around 100 coin in your purse, you have conspicuous as a tag.
Yeah, people notice you've got a large bulge.
Yep.
It's a lot of coins. They're loud.
You got more than 7 things in your inventory because this game uses slot inventory system because I don't care how much weight you're carrying. I care how much stuff people can see on you. Because that
bulk,
bulk. You also are heavy. You are also conspicuous. You're carrying so much stuff, and there are weapons that you can wear. Like you can carry around a greatsword in Avalon. That's also conspicuous, right? Like that's just one example. That's just like one example of what that means. But there are other things like you could have a dagger. Like if you keep it in your wrist, like it is hard to find. There's a tag for I forget it's concealable or something like that. I forget. And like there's a list of tags that are like commonly used for certain things, but the other thing like that's how the tag system works. Like it is just a way to reference a rule or to create a temporary rule that you may not want to have around forever.
But I mean, if you get into something like you're poisoned, sprained your ankle, broke your leg, could be worse, right? You're trying to climb a ladder that's that's on fire, as we said, the on fire option. So I mean, I could see some tags potentially turn I'll go back to the broken leg. I just think about that. Like, okay, that could be a long-term piece.
Let's talk about that for a second. You said broken leg. So I would probably never give anybody a broken leg because it would make that really hard for them to function. But that's just a me thing. If you want to do that, it'd be fine. But that would be a condition.
Okay.
So all characters have a thing called conditions. They have 3 condition slots. This goes into the hit point or the harm part of the game. Like, these characters are pretty hardy, but they're also pretty gritty. Now, to me, like talk about most of your role playing games, when you get knocked, you're pretty much working at full capacity until you get knocked down to 0 hit points.
Yes, absolutely.
In this game, I call it hit protection. Like you take harm, you lose hit protection. When you get reduced to 0 hit protection, you take a condition. It goes into one of those slots. If you ever fill up a 4th condition slot, you're dead or retired. You can't have this character anymore.
So if you get beat down bad enough, we could be like, yep, broken leg. Oh crap, that's a condition. That's not good.
Correct. For example, we played in our the cogs in the machine game that we played. I think that's what it was called. This is one of the things that I love about this idea of conditions. You're a rogue. You're like looking for traps in these like tunnels that are filled with like clockwork and whatnot. You didn't find it. Your hand got grounded up. And instead of me assessing you harm, I'm just like, nah, man, you get a condition. Like your hand is mangled. So
yeah,
it is a way to actually make traps more interesting and deadly. Also, like I wouldn't do it all the time, but you can be like somebody super dangerous that like has a giant spike club or whatever, or like a man, maybe a ghoul. Like you critically fail your resistance roll to get out of the way of the ghoul biting down on you, and you get bit, and now you have the condition infected with ghoulism.
the cool thing about that to me is there's narrative fun, and because the mechanic is not difficult, if I want to apply it like dice penalties or number penalties, it's not complicated. Like, oh, you have this, therefore you're moving at half speed. You have this, therefore you can't carry anything. It can be something as blanket as that. Like, hey, look, you're overloaded, dude. You literally cannot carry anymore. If I drop a feather on you, you're gonna fall over. You're burdened. Got it.
Also, Game Master at any time, the Game Master can sometimes ignore those conditions or be like all them and temporary tags. Like people can have temporary tags like poisoned. You mentioned poison, which triggered my head on the tag thing a lot because there's all kinds of different poisons.
Yes.
So like you just give them the poison tag and decide what the poison does, right? Like it will knock you out and you'll be unconscious in like 3 rounds unless you do something about it, right? Like it is a sleep poison. That means you got some time to deal with it, but you're groggy, so you're taking disadvantage on all your rolls until you pass out or find the antidote.
Oh, I like that.
So that's, to me, tags are the cheat code for the game. They do so much work for a lot of things, but this game is obviously you have to be willing to be creative and flexible with what you want to get done and how you might want to do things. But the fiction will often dictate what you should be having as the next thing.
I think the cool thing you just said there helps me. I was going to say, I feel like there has to be a judicious use of tags. We don't like go tag crazy. But then I thought, you know what? It's just like any other game system. If you apply, 62 bonuses and 52 minuses, well, that's on you. You just made a lot of harder math.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to do that. You could have a tag that's poisoned and in 3 rounds you're unconscious. And then you get stabbed again and again and again. You're like, okay, look, you're just down. Yeah. Like I'm not tracking 4 different unconscious. Like you are now overloaded. You got injected a lot, bro. You're down. You're down, man.
You're done.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
Because all these mechanics are really just to help whatever the actual fiction of this thing that's going on is, right? Like, and make it not be a he said she said kind of thing, right? Like I said that happened. No, that's why we roll dice. That's why we have mechanics. That's why we use some of this stuff. Oh so yeah. For anybody that was wondering, if you get knocked down to 0 harm, you get some amount of harm back as you take that condition, so that you are just sitting at 0 harm and taking condition after condition after condition, or some amount of hit protection back, so you're not just taking condition after condition after condition.
I was just gonna. This ties to this is the I guess how hardy are the characters, right? They're tough, they're gritty, and they can survive a lot, but it's also well-placed. A well-placed sword is still a well-placed sword.
Sure. I mean, that's why we, if you want to say that somebody gets stabbed as the game master and you just want to be like that guy walked up to you and stabbed you in the back. I'm like, well, you're dead then, right? Like they didn't see that guy. You drank that poison. You're just dead, right? Like the narrative should always trump that stuff. But if you're going to use the game rules as they're written, like you could take so much harm until you take a condition, and then you'll get some hit protection back, and then take some harm, get another condition, get some hit protection back, take some harm, take that 3rd condition, take that 4th condition, you're dead. So they're pretty strong, but like the more of a beating you take, the less effective you are.
Yeah, I think that's a cool piece, is that you like the John McClane thing, right? At a certain point, he's hobbling around. Spoilers. He's got glass in his feet, just in case somebody out there hasn't seen that yet. It gets difficult. Things get harder, they get more difficult. You got to get creative. You got to figure things out. Do you crawl away? Do you stay? What do you do? And one of the cool things about narrative tags to me, every time I've used them in any other game, has been, I'm at a -2. Okay. Yeah. I still got to roll an extra above. I'll be okay. I'm at a -3. Not bad. I might have this. I've twisted my knee. I can't run. Has a much different feel of, what do you mean I can't run? No, dude, you're literally at half.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. And she's bearing down on you fast. Oh, wow. I can't escape. I can't escape her now. Yeah. This is much harder. The narrative version of a tag to me has a lot of cool power to it.
And you could say, you could give them the tag slow, which means they're slower than they normally are. You give them the tag, like crawling, Like you can only crawl because you can't use your left leg. Like, and however you want to frame it, right? Like it gives you those choices and those options.
I like that. That also is a good opportunity from like table sourcing too. We're doing a thing. I've got the big bad girl and she's wailing the crap out of the party. And I'm like, okay, this occurs. You know, she comes down broadsword X, Y, and Z. And I'm thinking slow. And the player looks at me and goes, no, I think it's broken, or I think it's jammed, or I think it's this other thing. You've got, because it's player facing, I love the idea of using those tags. Like, I'm thinking this.
Yeah, you can negotiate.
Yeah,
totally
not like we're gonna like sit here and argue about it for hours, but I think if you're in the spirit of the thing, it's a great opportunity for players to, because it's player facing, to say, oh my god, I just got hit again. I'm assuming that my helmet is knocked off and I'm dizzy. Good, sounds dizzy to me.
You're dizzy. Yep,
you're dizzy, bro. Off we go.
And then you can
I think that's
play
cool.
out those ideas. To counter that, because this is a pulpy kind of, it's got some heroism to it, and like these characters are supposed to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got a thing called a resource called grit. Now you can spend this grit in a couple of ways. The primary way is after you're done rolling your dice and you find out if you succeeded or failed, you spend a grit to roll another d6 to help you out, or to turn one of the dice up a number.
Oh, go from 5 to 6.
Correct. Now this matters because this game has bounded accuracy, and sometimes you'll get into a situation where you're just like, I don't think I can actually do this with what I got. Even some of my best stuff, my best trainings, my best skills, all that stuff. Whenever you roll double fives, you succeed.
Okay, I was just going to ask, what about our doubles? What about my critical? My critical fails.
And double sixes is a critical success.
Okay.
And then if you roll any 2 1s on your dice pool, because sometimes if you try too hard, you screw it up. Any 2 1s in your dice pool that are not, and you don't have double sixes, you critically fail. So sometimes there's a choice, like I rolled a 1, but I really would like to succeed here. Do I want to spend this grit and roll another die? Because it's never re-roll a die. It's always roll another die.
Oh, okay.
You are never re-rolling dice. You're always rolling another die.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So shit. If I've got a 1 in the pool, that means I got a 1 in 6 chance of a critical failure.
If you grit it up, because sometimes you push really hard and you mess it up, right?
Fair enough. No, it's I like that. It's a decision.
And you can't grit out of a critical failure. You can't, like, as soon as you roll,
move it up to a 2.
Yeah, as soon as you roll 2 1s in there somewhere, you're just done.
You're just done.
Yep. Also, this game is not it's not success fail. It's hit miss.
Okay,
it matters. So if you, for those people that are familiar with like PBTA games and other games like that, a hit means you got what you wanted, you succeeded. A miss means the game master makes a choice. That could be you fail. That could also be success with some sort of resource that you get charged. It could be success with a choice that you have to make between some things that the game master puts forward. Stuff like that. So the game master has the choice to fail the player forward when they miss.
Okay.
If they want
like
to.
That. Okay.
What it does is in situations like, especially investigative situations, when they're looking for a clue, like, prefer them to find this clue because I don't feel like messing around, but I will charge them time to find this clue, which means that the serial killer will be one step closer to making their next kill.
Or they find out you're on their trail, right? Because you said the wrong thing. Yep. Word gets out. Classic, the alarm goes off. I open the door. Hey, I picked the lock. Well, shit, I forgot there's a gong.
Yep.
Or whatever goes on behind it, right? Oh, there's a clockwork bird that screams when I open this door. Lovely. Didn't know.
People call it success with the complication, success with the consequence. All that stuff is there. I just call it success with a resource cost. All those things are, to me, a resource cost in the game.
So we talk about it sounds like clocks in a way too when we're talking about resourcing and time.
Oh man,
and so forth.
We could talk about frameworks, but we got a whole other episode about frameworks.
True enough.
We will talk about timers in that one for sure.
Perfect.
I'm just trying to. I don't want to get too far into the weeds about what's going on.
Well, the cool thing though is that what I'm hearing anyway is, and what my experiences when we played it was that I saw and felt it flow smoothly. One of the things that drives me bananas as a game master, as a player, is when combat takes for fucking ever. That drives me bananas. Did I hit? Did I miss? Did this go? Did that go? And I find that one of the reasons I say when the player's facing die rolls, they help set the pace. I roll, you roll. Is it my turn? Is it my turn? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. You know, who's next in initiative? Where are we going with this? Who's up next? Brett, it's you. Chris, it's you. Mary, it's you. Susan, let's go. And when you have that happen, I think there's a pacing thing that happens there, especially when when things heat up. You know, I think the just tracking who's supposed to go next might be the hardest job of the game master, because everybody, especially in a tense situation, I got an idea. You're like, oh, wait, not your turn, not your turn. Just give me a second.
Yeah, because there is an initiative order for a lot of these things.
Yeah. I like that.
I think one of the things that tends to throw people off, at least for the beginning of it, but it gets a lot easier, is like player characters don't have armor class or anything like that. When they make a resistance roll, they make a resistance roll to avoid being hit, so they get to choose how they want to get out of the way of getting hit by something. So like if I say to you like this guy is going to hit you with his club repeatedly, like how do you want to defend yourself? You could either use the weapon that you have at your hand and make a fight check. You could dodge out of the way and make an agility roll.
So if I were to, let me think about this. So I've got a knife, right? So we're in a knife fight and they roll, or it's a critical success, right? I critically get out of the way. I think it feels like I want to be able to tell you, hey, can I use that critical success to tag him? And can I apply a tag in my critical success?
Sure. And I would say, what tag do you want to apply?
Oh, I've got a knife. Yeah. So what I did was I cut his wrist, so he's bleeding onto his own weapon hand. It's going to make it hard for him to hold the weapon. Can we do that?
Yeah, I would say that he's got blood on his hands, which makes his weapon hard, like the weapon slick in his hands. So he's got anybody who has to avoid being attacked by him for future would get advantage on the roll.
Perfect. Awesome. The reason I brought that up, Chris, is because I'm thinking like if you had a shield, a small shield, a sword, a club, a crate, whatever you happen to have, and you use it, and the cool thing comes up, or the bad thing comes up, you're like, well, sounds like I failed. I'm assuming the crate just explodes and I get knocked on my butt, or this occurs and that occurs. So it feels like depending on what it is you're trying to do.
Depending on what you're doing, because that helps provide another fictional beat. Like it gives the game master and the players a little bit more for what will be the thing that happens next, which I like to add in that part of the back and forth, the conversation of the game. And that forces people through gameplay to add those bits, because being like, I defend with my sword is just as relevant as like I dive to the left or to the right, or I just like step back to try to not get hit by that with my I mean, heck, you could even use insight for like perception, like to be like, I watch his arm to see how he's swinging. I'm like, okay, that'll work the one time until you realize what you're doing, then you're in trouble.
Yeah. Can I step backwards because there's a grate between us and he, and I think he's too heavy?
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
Is there a dip in the pavement or something like, or a hole he could step in and maybe twist an ankle? So, and I like the description, because instead of not a lot, that sounds crass because this is not true, but I swing, I miss is boring. And
I don't like it.
No, it's just, you can add the other flavor into it, but this is built into it, which is one of the things that you wanted to do. And I thought was just awesome, is, getting that built into it. And again, talking about it now, it gets me fired up. It becomes a combat that is cinematic yet gritty, right? It's hard.
It's like all those books. It's all those books we read when we were when we were, the Edgel and Nix, the Fafnir and the Grey Mouse, or the Conan stuff. Like this, there's a lot. I mean, it's never swing and a miss.
Nope. Never. So one of the things that my buddies and I liked about 5e was the downtime mechanic, that they built a little downtime mechanic into it. Because one of the things that we used to do a lot of was, how much time passes between this adventure and the next one, or between sessions? Do we have any downtime here? And Delta Green, I think, has some fun stuff too you can do. But we were both big on a downtime upkeep approach to things, because there's space. Because if you have an occupation and you're a baker, you have an occupation, you're a carpenter, blacksmith, whatever, is there work piling up? Is there, what's going on? Oh, I've got some downtime. I'm working on building an alchemical lab. I'm working on building a house, or trying to fix the orphanage. And instead of it being a simple die roll, like, does it work? Does it not work? Type of that. I mean, I like 5e's okay for what it is, but how have you got things going on this one?
So this system arose out of a game that I ran for a long time that was not an Avalon game. I would give people some amount of points, basically 25 points every downtime set of actions to spend to do stuff, whatever that stuff was, be it learn new skills, work on a profession that they might have. In one of the games, somebody was building was using their influence as a prince of another country to try to get a embassy in the kingdom that they were in. So I like lifted it. I'm like, oh, I drop this in Avalon, but I'm also going to put an upkeep system there because you live in a city. You have to pay for stuff.
Yes, you do.
Which means like you have to go and make money in order to live where you're living, or you will be on the streets. Right? Like you'll be homeless and you'll be malnourished and you will eventually die. Like
I remember us talking about that because it is a thing that you can say it's important in the city. You have to have blah, 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 blah. And without a mechanic, it gets forgotten in the
Correct.
heat of everything else. The story is so cool. You're having so much fun. That nagging thing that I haven't paid rent yet hasn't hit me. It's in the novels though, right? It's in that piece where you know, the landlord needs this, or oh crap, I'm out of cash. I'm poor right now, or whatever. It's there, you know. And I like the fact that it's here because it rears its ugly head, and of course, at some of the most inopportune times.
Yeah. So I try to make it as simple as possible to go through some of that stuff. Like there's a pretty quick checklist. And now that I've played with it enough times, this upkeep part, and this is also for things like if you have an alchemy lab, like you can take your alchemy stuff out into the city with you and do stuff with it. And like it's like a little mini subclass that you can, if you have like an alchemy toolkit on top of whatever your class is, like you do stuff, poisoner kit, stuff like that. You have to like pay to keep supplies there. Like
exactly. It's not an infinite bag.
Otherwise you'll run out of stuff or you won't have access to it when the next scenario comes around. But it's like just a checklist. You go down it and you pay for the stuff. But the downtime is what I like to call an alternate leveling system in a lot of ways. Because say you don't have training in a thing that you'd like to have training in, you can use your downtime to learn that stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
So like, say you're a wizard, but you want to learn how to fight with a sword. Start using your downtime to learn how to use a longsword. And then you'll have training in a longsword so that you can use a longsword more effectively. So you want to learn how to, be an alchemist. There's like rules for how to like get to the point where you can effectively have the alchemist tool kit training. And then you have access.
It's a point spend. You get X number of.
You get 25 downtime every in between situation scenarios. And if you want, I tried this because I wanted to see how it worked. You can be like, I'm gonna have 2 downtime sets. So like I gave everybody 50 points, but I also they had to do 2 upkeeps. So that means they had to make sure they had enough money to cover themselves for those 2 upkeeps. Because every upkeep you have to pay some amount of silver, otherwise you get some of these negative tags that occur.
Ah, there we go. I was just going to ask you that. So we can't upkeep. There's negative tags.
Yeah. And like people would also use their professions and things that they had to make money, because there's a way to make money spending your downtime, because you can just go work.
Yeah, I'm a carpenter. Somebody's got to build something. Mm-hmm. I'm a boat builder. I'll go do boat repair. Correct. Sailmaker. I'll make sails.
You make a roll, and depending on how good your roll was, you make some amount of money. I mean, people have to live. It's just that it's not always a very effective way to make money.
I like the way that it ties the occupations in, obviously. And the other thing for me, narratively, that feels cool about this is that if you're doing this and you're seen in the neighborhood, you're an active participant, right? You're helping, you're solving, you're troubleshooting, you're doing all the cool stuff there, the great adventuring stuff. But you've also come and worked the blacksmith shop. You've also gone to the seamstress shop. You've also gone to map makers, and you've applied your cartography skill, or you're a participant in the neighborhood.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Then you become better respected even more so. You're not just a person who does the heroic dirty deed that needs to get done, but you're also the guy who fixed the orphanage, to use that analogy. Put a door back up or whatever.
You could, if you had enough money at some point, you could be the one that's like, I'm gonna take over the orphanage and buy it and then run it. And that would come with some stuff. Like you have to figure it out. Like there's I don't have rules for that, but anybody who's running the game be like, oh, what happens if I have an orphanage? And you just start writing a few things down, and they're like, oh, that's what happens when I have an orphanage.
Yeah, I mean, the tag system could easily come into play in such a place. Like,
certainly can.
I own a thing. I've got a responsibility. I've got a this. I've got a that.
I had somebody who was playing a Lucia in one of the games that I was running, and they were like, they had a young kid who was kind of like a bit of an outcast, weirdo-ish kind of kid, quiet but really smart, who then he used his downtime to cultivate a network of kids to give him information.
Oh, okay.
Like he spent downtime and money and coin to get those kids, food and whatnot, so that they would be his information network. And he had the tag, Child Information Network or whatever. They were like Sherlock Holmes's
Baker Street Irregulars.
Regulars, yeah, they were like that for him.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But he spent downtime and money to do that. Then they were a resource that he could use in the game. Very
cool. I like that a lot.
You got anything else for me? I think that covers a lot of.
No, man, that's a lot of it. It's So one last question. So it's 2d6 for most things. You also mentioned for damage and stuff. Do I need my full D&D set of dice?
You do need your full D&D set of dice.
Okay.
I couldn't figure out a way to get around it. I could have just done a bunch of pluses and minuses on D6s, but everybody's got percentile. Everybody's got polyhedrals. Like the people that are going to buy this game got polyhedrals anyway.
I remember us talking about weapon damage. Like, well, we could have a fixed weapon damage. Longswords do 7. This does 4. That does this.
0 fun.
And yeah, there's no. I'm like, man, I want to roll a die for that, man. I want a 1 to 10. I want a 2 to 6. I want something beefy with it too. Very cool.
Tell you, stunt dice are fun too, but we'll talk about that some other time.
Perfect. This was good, man. That was a good overview for me. It's been a while since I've had the chance to play it with you, so I'm looking forward to us doing that again.
We'll get to that at some point.
Oh yeah, it's got to happen.
Thank you for listening to Under the Lamplight, the Streets of Avalon role-playing game podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe on YouTube. You can pick up the playtest version of the game, which I've done my best to give a slightly nicer layout with some art at polygamero.us. The link is below. And we'll see you under the lamplight next week.